Hello, everyone. Welcome. Thank you all for being here. I so appreciate your participation in this class. Today, we're going to be continuing our conversation about the torsion field, as requested by a couple of you that reached out back to me to try to remind us of what the torsion field actually is. Last week, we had a beginning conversation on the torsion field and the Guardian Alliance of Light and the technology of the torus, the nested torus, uh, um, um, and who this collective of beings are. The Guardian Alliance of Light, who are the originator of the torsion field of the Guardian Alliance of Light, TM, are very much dimensional celestial beings who have achieved neutrality, although it appears in the universe that everything is bipolar. There's plus and minuses, male, female, day, night, etc., opposites. There also exists in nature at the subquantum level, at the quantum level, there's neutrinos, at the atomic level, there's neutron. There are things and particles and state of consciousness that allow us to achieve neutrality. The Guardian Alliance of Light are the collective in all dimensions of time and space that have achieved neutrality, and they are trying to share with us the neutrality that they know as an act of kindness, of generosity, as a projection of their love into us to kind of remind us that that frequency also exists out there. There are multiple choices. There are an infinite number of possibilities, but one of them is neutrality. And they are trying to educate us in the way to, or the achievement of that state of consciousness. And the way they do this is by them coming to us and requesting for our permission so that they can begin to install the torsion field, the torus that they each has, from the 4D, 5D, 6D, all the way down 12 dimensions, all the way down to the throne room of God, all the way up rather to the throne room of God. And as it ascends and it continues all the way up, you end up having an experience of neutrality that may not have existed for you in 3D. There are so many things in this world at this moment that are so agitating, that are so turbulent and so chaotic that it could cause the best of us to go into panic. I live in New York City. I am in chaos central. There are all kinds, and as an empath, as somebody that feels and sense and listen to the feelings and the emotion of others, I have to be very discerning on how I hold my boundaries, because that's one of the things that this system does, is that it gives you integral boundaries. When they first showed up to me, they said to me, I'm going to show you a way where nothing in time and space can interfere with you. And I'm like, yes, I welcome you. So the first guardian comes in from the core of the earth, moves to the bottom of your feet, and the energy is like an axis or a core energy that's counter-rotating. And it moves through my bottom of my feet, goes through my core, exit outside of my head, and goes back all the way into source. And when it arrives, creating a rod from the core of the earth to source, it spreads out almost like an explosion of a firecracker and it creates these filaments that wraps around to the bottom of the core of the earth, and all around me it creates a donut, an energy donut, in full volume 3D all around me. It's coming and passing through my core. So it isolates me and create a self-sustained system, because as long as the filaments continue to rotate, it's perpetual motion, and it creates a system that will lock itself all around me and cause me to be protected. Then what happened next is that at the top, the center of the donut, the little hole that's in the center, opens up and becomes wider. And out of that shoots another axis, and from there, an opposite energy comes from the top, this time rotating clockwise, spinning down, passing to the top of my head, going through the bottom of my feet and to the core of the earth, and equally it explodes out and creates a filament that wraps around back on top. So now the first torsion field is inside, while the other one is on top of it. So the one that's coming down is on top, and it wraps around on top. And when it does, it's the bottom one, the internal one, is rotating clockwise. The top one, the inner one is rotating counterclockwise. The outside one is rotating clockwise. And they keep flipping opposite to opposite, meaning the next one, which is the third guardian, comes in to in the bottom of my feet, and this time rotating clockwise. And they keep nesting on top of each other like a Russian nested egg. I also had shared with you that the guardians themselves are not just human. They are not humanoid. They are celestial beings of all species that exist in these different dimensions that have achieved neutrality. Additionally, you need to understand that in this higher dimension, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, D, etc., there is an aspect of you that already exists. If you remember, we came from God and we fragmented and dropped down. And at every dimension, we left a piece of ourselves. Now, those pieces and part of ourselves are not completely separated. Together with yourself in 3D, they compose what's called the Antakarana, or the rainbow bridge, that connects you back to God. Now, that rainbow bridge and that Antakarana, those pieces of yourself at these various dimensions in your Antakarana may not be completely neutral. Some of them may be battling. So sometime when the guardian comes in and they're creating the torsion field, the perception, I did the torsion field with you at the end of class last time. The perception that we usually have when you're doing the torsion field is that you're very aware of your core. And then when the axis and the torus gets created, the energy donut gets created around us, we have a sense of how big we have become energetically. In other words, how far the torsion field boundary has wrapped around us. Sometimes it might be the size of your apartment, sometimes it might be several blocks wide or several miles wide, depending on how neutral you are. There happens to be a moment where, let's say, the fifth, the sixth, or eighth, the guardian, you might find that you have an experience where you experience something that's disjointed, where it feels like you have an image or a perception of something that's battling, that's disconnects you to what the peace and the serenity that this geometry creates, this energetic geometry creates. It's because in those higher dimensions, the part of you that may exist in the fifth dimension or in the ninth dimension or 10th dimension is not in neutrality. And it may be struggling or attempting to resolve with the guardian that exists in that realm that's neutral. It's trying to acclimate to what neutrality is. It's trying to entrain it. So in the fourth dimension or fifth dimension or any other side dimension, the guardians are projecting their neutrality onto the part of you that exists in that dimension. It's a fine point, but I want to be clear about this. And the way they do it, it's similar to what we do when we pray for someone and we're trying to intercede, when we say, may the peace, the serenity, and the neutrality that I know pass on to you. And when you say pass on to you, you project it energetically to where you can feel or sense the person you're praying for exists in space around you. I'm using in space around you quite a bit, and I'm going to expand into that because I want you to understand that memory and the understanding of dimension is connected to our perception of space. The 3 dimensions, the third D, 3D, is connected to length, width, and height. So it's a perception of space. If I were to ask you right now to close your eyes and to think about someone that you love very deeply, and to look at that someone in space around you. Now, I want you to think about a happy and joyous moment in your life. I want you to look at that memory in space around you. I want you to think now about what you ate yesterday. And I want you to look at it in space around you. Okay, you can open your eyes. All these experiences that I ask you to think about are in different locations around you. They are not in the same place. And I want you to understand this because in order for you to be able to project your Antakarana, your rainbow bridge, your rod of power, to do the healing and the support and the intercession that we are trying to do for humanity, you have to be able to be more connected to how you really exist in space. It's not that we are disconnected to the other part of us that are in 4D, 5D, 6D, and so on. It's just that we don't remember that we're connected to it. We have amnesia. The process of a spiritual practice like I'm teaching you now, it's the process of trying to remember those parts and those muscles that have been atrophied because they have not been used in eons, centuries, if not millions and billions of years. So the idea is for us to try to begin to remember by now understanding that energetically and also in terms of memory is not just neuron net synapses in our brain, but it's actually spatial. It exists in space all around us. Moreover, when the Tor Guardian Alliance or that create the torsion field around you, the torsion field is actually like a gyroscope. Every direction in the torsion field, if you think of yourself sitting in a gyroscope that can move in every direction in the gyroscope is connected to an ability, a power, a virtue that you can access given the right circumstances. And there are billions of possible angles and of ways of connecting. In other words, think of you inside the torsion field as sitting inside of a gigantic cosmic control room where you have access to all memories, to everything that there is. This is the power of the torsion field. And when you are working hard to, and you're connecting and you're doing the torsion field mechanic by doing the breath and doing the torsion field several times a day, that axis, that rod, gets reaffirmed over and over again by the practice. And it's not that you're creating the axis, is that you're trying to remember a path that had been overgrown and covered up by all kinds of stuff. You're trying to rediscover the path. And once it begins to be rediscovered, it gets to a point that we become so strong that nothing can shut it down. And now you begin to, instead of being unconscious tendency in emptiness, as they say in Buddhism, you begin to have conscious immortality. You begin to remember your powers, who you are, and what you're doing on earth. So connecting back to the idea of space, I had said to you before when I'm praying for somebody and I say, may the peace, the serenity, and the neutrality that I know pass on to you. Before I do the before I do the connection, I close my eyes and I think of the person. I think of their name, and then I try to locate them in space around them. Whatever, Jane Doe, I'm trying to find where Jane Doe is. Wherever she is, okay, that energy feels like it's there for me. Then when I'm doing the prayer of intercession, I'm connecting to that spatial location in the torsion field. And when I say pass on to you, I transmit it. I see it being projected onto that location. Any questions, any comments?
Yeah, question, please. I recall that you had often said when you're doing the healing work that you bring the person up to source.
Yes.
Is it the same thing that you're saying now, that you see them in the space around you, which would be equivalent in the torsion field to being in source?
Okay, so the technique I'm sharing with you now is a bypass to that process. Okay, it's a short route. It's something you do very quickly when somebody's in dire need.
Oh, I see.
So the full technique is that you locate them first in space, you get their name, you locate them in space, and then you ask the guardian wherever they are in space to create the torsion field around them in that location. And then from there, you ask for God to take them into source, for the guardian to take them into source. Okay. Because what the guardian is doing around them, wherever they are, because they are not in neutrality, by asking the guardian to create the torsion field around them, it brings them into neutrality. And it creates a tunnel of light to give them access to source.
Yes.
And as soon as the last guardian creates, the 12th guardian creates the torus, they have penetration. They can go right into source.
Mm-hmm.
And at that moment, they are in source, and you can begin to make a request on their behalf. This person is suffering from this, that, or the other. This person has abundance issue. This person desire to have peace restored for them. They feel attacked. Can you give them serenity? Whatever it is that you give them mercy. And then at that point, once you have made the request, you step back, you let go, and you let God finish, do what it wants to do. Do not get involved in the healing.
Right.
It is not for you to calculate, to do, to repair, to change, to alter, to do nothing. Your entire responsibility is to be the conductor, the bus driver, and to bring them to the station and have them get off and let them engage with God without you.
And just to be sure that I'm understanding, of course, I know you do the torsion field for yourself.
Yes.
You enter into this attempt to locate a person in the space around you. But then once you've located them, then you ask the Guardian Alliance of Light to create a torsion field
around them.
The same fashion that you created your own, or
yes.
leave
yes.
it. In other words, you do the 12 different.
You let the Guardian create. Yes, you let the Guardian create the 12 torsion field around them, and then take them into source. This is the full version of the healing.
I got you.
The short version that I'm telling you, may the peace, the serenity that I know, I am now acting as a member of the Guardian Alliance of Light in 3D, and I'm projecting the neutrality as I understand it onto that person. As opposed to what I just told you just now, let the Guardian create the torsion field and take them into source.
That's the part that I want to be sure I understood. Let the guardians create the torsion field. In other words, it's not you going through the 12 steps.
Correct.
With the guardian.
You're simply witnessing it.
Okay, got you. Thank you.
You're seeing, you know it's being done. You see the first torus, you see the second. You know it's being done.
I got you. Thank you. Got you. Got you.
Okay? Yes. All right. So the idea of the spatial relationship is extremely important. There are other techniques that we had used before, and I'm gonna go deep today. There are other techniques we had used before. Beginning of 2020, I started teaching the monadic merger. And in this instance, we were talking about the monad, which is all of us have fragmented because we descended 2 dimensions from the 5th down to the 4th to the 3rd dimension. Every time you descend a dimensional scale, you break into 12, into a lower dimension. 12 pieces of you have to shatter. You have to break the unity that you have. Monad is a Greek word that means one. So the one that I was in 5D is shattered into 12 initially when I get to 4D. Instead of being one pair, one monad, I'm now 12 pieces. Then as each of the 12 pieces descend even further, each of these other 12 will break to another 12. So by the time I get to 3D, I am just one fragment of the collective 12 times 12 of 144 pieces that may be incarnated on earth as other beings, or maybe in other dimensions, or maybe not incarnated at all, maybe in other parallel realities, or suspended in waiting for me in other higher realm to return back to reconnect. Our responsibility as spiritual beings that are trying to ascend is to merge all these pieces together to become the monad again. And the mechanic to do this is to think of I initially use a clock, but it's really not a clock, it's a mandala. If you can think of yourself standing, or rather sitting in a chair in the middle of a clock where 12 o'clock is in front of you, 6 o'clock is behind you, 3 o'clock is to your right, 9 o'clock is to the left, and then there's all the other hands of the clock are in between. At each direction of the clock, there exists one of the 12 pieces of yourself that originally fragmented, which are called oversouls. Now, behind the oversoul at 12 o'clock, there exists also another 12 soul extension. This happened at 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock, etc., and all the way around until it returns back to make a totality of 144 pieces. So what happened is that as you're doing this I'm going to go over it in a second. I'm explaining it generally in term, and I'm going to read from the text itself. I'll share it with you so that you can understand it. So, as I'm connecting to the fragment of myself that exists at 12 o'clock, as I'm connected to that fragment, I ask that part of me that I broke and I left behind. Let me read the text for you. From the center of the mandala and the original point of emanation in emptiness, the throne room of God, I am encircled by the 24 elders that surround the throne of grace. I am that I am. Now I'm addressing, my eyes are closed, and I'm thinking as if I have a clock around me on the floor in front of me at 12 o'clock. I become aware of my Christed overself that exists at 12 o'clock. Please forgive me. I love you and I let go. I ask for a complete and total merger with my Christed self, which is what's in front of me, and the 12 Christed aspects of me that compose this Christed self. So behind this one piece exists another 12. I am that I am. I ask that you share and merge with me the virtues, wisdom, and power that you know. And I wait for, as I'm doing this energetically, as I'm connecting to that direction, I wait for the virtues, the wisdom, and the power to merge back with me. Once that is done, you wait for a few minutes, a few seconds, then I move on to 1 o'clock. I repeat the same process, every hands, every direction in the clock. Any questions, any comments about this? I'm trying to remind some of you, because we did this long ago, 4 years ago. More than 4 years ago. So the idea there is to every direction of the clock to connect to part of yourself. Now, let me just say this about the monad and the throne room of God and the 24 elders. That passage is from Revelation of John, where John was taken into the throne room of God by angels. And when he arrived there, he saw the seraphim, he saw all kinds of things. He saw the one that was sitting in the throne that was covered with light. And he also saw around the throne room, the throne, there were 24 elders that surrounded the throne. When you do that very specific protocol on a daily basis, what happens is that after a while, you begin to feel all kind of sensation in your head, like electrical things that are moving, things that are reconnecting in all kinds of directions. This is because the 24 elders are representative of 24, rather 12 pairs, or a total of 24, 12 pairs of cranial nerves that exist in our brain. And those 12 pair of cranial nerves are surrounding the pineal gland, which is the representative of the throne. So physically in our body, the vestiges of the actual throne room of God exist in physicality in us. And while you're doing this exercise, it will trigger and make you remember the connection, not only to restore your the pair of cranial nerve that's at 12 o'clock, the pair of cranial nerve that's at 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, etc., but it will also activate the power of it. So your understanding of the space or the volume that you exist in, that exists beyond your skin, becomes extremely strong. And the reason I'm saying this is because the torsion field is doing something that's equally important as well. It's doing something similar. Because the torsion field, when the core gets created, you become very aware of the core, and the filaments are spreading out. And as the filament gets spread out, you begin to be very aware of how far the boundary of the torus is. Any question, any comments about this? Okay. I'm trying to move easy so that I can explain this. That boundary and that spatial understanding is important because the torus or the torsion field of the Guardian Alliance of Light is a volume. It's not, and if you sit, for example, I've told you before, you can do a short version of the torus. Like I've done 3 or 4 or 5 times already, the short version. When I was walking, when I went to the store, when I did whatever, I can do it, because I do it with 12 breaths. But in the morning, when I have more time, I wake up at 5 o'clock in the morning. By the time I sit down and do all my prayers and I'm done, I do the torsion field, but I do a longer version. Where I take the first breath, the torus gets created, and I take another 3 to 4 breaths. And I sit in that understanding of the first torus, and I'm trying to understand what neutrality, the neutrality that the first guardian is trying to upload in me with the counterclockwise direction, what that feels like to me, what virtue, what ability, what power is it uploading in me? What is it trying to say when I have this volume around me? What eventually happens is that when you take your time for each torus, you begin to be very aware that actually it's not one guardian. Although in the explanation, in the writing of the meditation, it says the first guardian approach you and share with you the neutrality that he knows. It's not one guardian. It's a collective of 12 guardians whose egregore or group body are acting as one. And actually, similarly to the monadic merger, which is the reason why I brought it up, there is one guardian at each hand of the clock or location in the mandala. There's a guardian right there. Or rather, the antakarana or the filament or the core of a guardian that got projected into you as an act of generosity, of love, of compassion, and of mercy. And because it's done this way, you're able to, as you move, but I can only do this when I have time. If I don't have time, I have to do the short version, the 5 minute, less than 5 minute version. It's 12 breaths. It's potent, it's powerful, but when I take my time, I really, because when I'm doing it that slowly and I'm taking my time, I can begin to feel at moment that, let's say, for example, at 7 o'clock, I can sense that my neighbor down the block is in panic and is in fear. And that energy is reaching out to them and trying to include them. Because the neutrality that they have now projected into me is so wide and so open now in terms of its diameter that it has now reached all the people in the bubble and the donut that it's creating around me. And everything in it, not just the people, the flowers, the plant, the molecule, the atom, it's projecting neutrality into all of them. Any questions, any comments?
Yeah, yes, please. I have now to try to understand the connection between the torsion fields and the monadic merger with the 12 correlations. Does it mean that as each of the monadic mergers of the oversouls or the Christed souls around the clock, each has a torsion field?
Yeah,
and a collective of the guardians, and each one correlating to a dimensional, but there are only 12 places. So I guess that's right. Yeah, 12.
yes.
Yeah. So does that automatically create a torsion field when we do the monadic merger?
It does, but it's I'm gonna, okay, how to explain this? Yes, the guardian, the monad, the magnetic part of yourself that exists when you're connecting to them through the merger exists also in a torsion field. There's not one thing in this universe that does not exist in a torsion field.
Mm-hmm.
They are in a torsion field. Okay? Moreover, the guardian themselves, as you sit with them and trying to understand them, will give you a lot more understanding of who they are and what they are. Because in 3D, we have the responsibility of becoming the guardian ourselves. We have the responsibility to achieve neutrality and become the beings that are going to be the anchor for this giant cascade that's coming 12th dimension above us. We're going to have to ground it, not only for ourselves, but for the benefit of everyone in that circle of influence, in that diameter, where the torus, these 12 toruses are going to fall. So it's up to me to figure out a way to acclimate and become as neutral as possible. And the reason I'm trying to explain this, it's because the torus of the guardian eye of light, you know how you're doing vocal exercise? You know this better than anybody else here in this class as a vocalist. And there are multiple different ways of getting to the same place. Like you can approach it from one direction or another direction, and then once you acclimate it and you bring it together, and all of a sudden it seems like they touch. So this is a different kind of vocal, a different type of energetic exercise. One is connected to doing the torsion field and let the guardian connect you to an expansion, but this time of a filament. Whereas when you're doing the monad, it's a flat piece that encircles you. Although it's creating sensation in your head, but it's not a volume.
Mm.
Do you understand what I'm saying? There is a difference. It's not a volume.
I got it. So it's the mandala that is flat.
Yes, it's flat. It's not a volume. And it takes a minute and by the way, these classes that we ran in the early part of 2000 and on multiple times, eventually by the third or fourth class, I think it was the third class, we introduced something called the Grand Cross. What is it called again? The Grand Cross marriage. And that exercise, we not only connected first to our chakras system. So instead of just going horizontal, we went vertical as well. And then we went horizontal as well, to allow for a complete spatial understanding of our entire energetic body, so that we can emancipate beyond the illusion that we are trapped in the edge of our skin.
Mm.
Now, in the Grand Cross marriage, we only dealt with the 7 chakras, but the 7 chakras is only what exists in 3D. What if we extend into chakra 8 to chakra 15, which exists in the 4th dimensional body, or chakra 16 to 22, which exists in the 5th dimensional body? Do you see where I'm going? And we can go all the way back to source. So as we're expanding in chakra, for example, 8 to 15, we are connected to the torsion field that exists in the 4D that the first guardian gives. Do you see what I'm saying, Janice?
I missed that last part. When you go up to the 15.
Okay, let me start again. Let me go back. Let me go back for a second. Okay, I'm going to share with you my screen. That's the best way for me to do it, because I know it's very deep, and I'm bringing a lot of information. This is like years of information in a short while.
Mm-hmm.
Here's the Grand Cross marriage. So you start out there was an introductory comment at the gateway of the path of return. I stand humbly seeking permission to enter. I stand in spiritual rectitude and verticality aligned to the celestial axis around which the universe rotates. Prana rise. Give me conscious immortality. Prana rise. Give me conscious immortality. Prana rise. Give me conscious immortality. First chakra. I become aware of my crown chakra, Sahasrara, whose purpose is to know, at the point slightly above my head. So your eyes are closed, you think about the spot that's slightly above your head, and you say, Prana rise, give me conscious immortality. Then you wait for a moment. I become aware of my third eye chakra, Ajna, whose purpose is to see, at the point between my eyeballs. Prana rise, give me conscious immortality. I become aware of my throat chakra, Vishuddha, whose purpose is to speak in the middle of my truth. Prana rise, give me conscious immortality. I become aware, and you go all the way down to all of the 7 chakras, and when you're done, you say, from the roots of a man into the throne room of God, I am aligned at the celestial, with the celestial axis that is perpetually expanding and growing. So this is only the 7th chakra in 3D that exists in my body. But we have done classes on the Antakarana. We know that right above the 7th chakra, there is an 8th chakra that exists in the babushka, or the etheric part, 8 to 15 chakra that exists in the babushka, the version of myself that exists in the 4th dimension. What if in the brain cross marriage, I were to include a connection to chakra 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15? When I do this, I am consciously connected to the part of me that exists in 4th dimension. And it is the part of me that the guardians, the first guardians, are creating the torsion field around. Because in the 4th dimension, there's a collective of 12 that are going to share with me the neutrality that they know.
Okay, I got you.
You see what I'm saying? And this continues all the way back to God.
Right. So at each dimensional chakra system, it correlates to the guardians.
Yeah.
I got you.
This is how the guardian interweave into the ideal of the monad and the guardian connect together.
Everything is so interconnected, yes.
And it's all multiple of 12. Because this is the way celestial mathematics operates.
Beautiful.
Of course, when you get to the second part of the meditation of the Grand Cross marriage, from the center of the mandala, and now you're focusing on the horizontal portion, from the center of the mandala, the original point of emanation and emptiness, the throne room of God. I am encircled by the 24 elders that surround the throne of grace. I am that I am. I become aware of the Christed over self body that exists at 12 o'clock. So at that point, I'm focusing on 12 o'clock. Please forgive me. I love you and I let go. I ask for a complete and total merger with my Christed self and with the 12 aspects of me that compose this. I am that I am. Prana rise. Give me conscious immortality. So at every point you're trying to ignite the prana rise, the prana is the vital life force of God that you're trying to reignite fire and cause this part of you that was dormant to awake and to to be alive again. And then you continue to do the same thing at 1 o'clock, at 2 o'clock, at 3 o'clock. And as you do this, you're wrapping. So the horizontal, the vertical was done first. Now the horizontal is complete.
As we rise up through the dimensions vertically, aren't there other directions that would be part of that dimension that we would, whether it's time,
Yes.
whatever, I'm not sure what the other aspects of the other dimensions that we probably just can't know yet. But
yes, and it's space-time.
Yes.
It actually is space-time. Because beyond the 3D, what determine the other. I was doing a class not too long ago, and I included somebody in the class he's not on the level that we're at. We're more advanced, way more advanced than him. And he's a friend of mine who survived, very dear friend. I've known him since I was in college. And he overcame cancer, and I wanted to include him to expand his consciousness. And the class is very advanced. It's the class on the journey to the stargates. And what happened is that we were talking about dimensions, like you and perception, all that. We all can remember the past. Well, most of us, most of the time. There are times we have lapse of memory where you have to go back to the place you were originally to remember why did I come to the bathroom, and then you don't remember. Anyway, be that as it may, but these things happen. Okay, but we generally remember the past. But for many of us, we don't have access to the future. We can see it, and there is no logical reason why we don't. From a brain biology kind of sense, we should be able to actually perceive the potential for the future. So he went to several classes, blah, blah, blah. And then I was explaining something. And all of a sudden, out of nowhere, because somebody asked the question, I began to talk about the Galapagos and the finch that Charles Darwin observed, and how the finch he thought were different species in two separate islands, where one had an arid terrain with plants with hard seed, and he saw a little bird with fat beak that was able to break them and go inside the seed and eat it. And as opposed to an island that has very flowers with long neck, and another bird was able to get to the nectar with the long beak and so on. And when he studied both species, what he discovered, they all both evolved from one species of finch. And apparently, when the bird migrated to these locations, the impossibility of having a food source almost killed in both islands all of them. And what happened is that as the species was about to become extinct, the mothers at the last part or that were still remaining alive gave birth to chicks that had positively mutated with the fat beak. And from the same mother race, the same finch race, equally with a different food source, the same thing happened with one with a long beak. I was explaining this in class, and he went, oh my God. There's a point to the story. He said, oh my God. I had a dream last night about finch. And I said to him, because he didn't know, I didn't even know I was going to talk about this. It's something that happened spontaneous because of a question that was asked. And I said to him, this was precognition. Your dream mind revealed to you a part of the future you were going to live the next day before it happened. And that blew his mind. So access to the future timeline is something that all of us should be capable of doing. In other words, fourth and fifth dimensional beings can move about us, but we don't have a clue that they exist. Because if they focus, if for example, they focus, I'm going to give you another example that those of you in class right now experience. When we were at the Garville Center in the retreat center upstate, many of us have experienced this many times. We're sitting inside doing meditation or prayer, or we hear a car driving into the gravel. We hear the car stop, the ignition turn off. We hear a door open and people walking. You hear the footstep. We get up to open the door. There's no one there. And it happens all the time. And I know because the torsion field that exists in that location is a dimensional portal. That dimensional beings are coming in and out all the time using that portal, that doorway. We hear it, but we cannot see it because we're still trapped in the 3D reality. That if one of us were able to expand, or many of us were able to expand our awareness and yield into the perception of time and see multiple or different timelines at the same time, we would probably be able to see this dimensional being come into use of this portal. So to explain this to you is to say that yes, that access of, and there are multiple other gifts. For example, in 4D, you might be able to travel and see one future. But in 5D, you may be able to see multiple futures because you're becoming more and more neutral. Whereas if you're limiting yourself, you're slightly becoming neutral, you will see, for example, a potential for something that's going to happen, only one thing. Whereas somebody that's so much more neutral will see in the future horizon, there exists 4 or 5 different things that could possibly happen given where I'm standing right now. And then I can select which path I want to follow. Did that answer your question, Janice?
Thank you, and more.
So we have to be very careful. We have to be more understanding of the fact that and it's space time. It means that also I can not only see the future when I get to 5 and 6D, I can go back into the past. Because time is no longer, time is very malleable to me. I had talked about the concept of what is called in quantum mechanics, the world line. Let's say I'm crossing 14th Street and 9th Avenue. And as I'm crossing that corner, in a 24-hour period, there are all kinds of activities that are happening in that corner. Cars are crossing, dogs, mothers with strollers, all kinds of events, buses, taxi drivers, individual walking. There are all kinds of things that are happening. So me crossing that spatial coordinate, that 3D spatial coordinate, where there are 3 definite axes that will determine that location in space for me. You have to add to it the moment in time when I cross the street and I see somebody I had not seen since high school. Because if I cross the street at the wrong time, that event will not occur. I will not be able to get to it. So the higher you go in dimension, 5D, 6D, 7D, the more you are able to control the world line, to go back to very specific moment in time, to experience things that are very specific. Higher dimensional being can do this. Otherwise, they will keep crossing your path, your world line, and you will not see them. That's why we are not seeing the cars that keep driving and going upstate to the portal, we don't see them because we are not at the right world line. We haven't emancipated. We are not neutral enough to emancipate to be able to use that ability. Any questions, any comments?
There have been cases I've heard about, read about, when, for instance, ascended masters appeared in physical form. Would that be their ability in their dimension to adjust the earth line?
World line, yes.
Oh, world line, sorry.
Yes, absolutely. And also because it takes a tremendous amount of energy for these, you can't think about it. If a being is in 60 or 70, they have to reduce themselves and they have to entomb themselves to show up in 3D.
Mm-hmm.
It's not up to their benefit. They have to make themselves extremely small to show up to our benefit, because that's the only way we can believe that they exist. So we have to think about from their perspective, because again, I told you at every dimension, when you go down, you have to fragment into 12. So if it's a 6 or 7 dimensional being that's coming down, how many times will they have to fragment themselves to give an appearance in physical reality, to show themselves to us so that we can believe that they exist? Whereas they can show up and we will not see them because they have not crossed our world line. We will not see them, but they can, but the effect of what they are doing will happen nonetheless without them even showing a physical imprint. The benefit that they can be, they can create the benefit that they want to create without having to physically manifest. So we have to think about this as well. And I have to say to you that the reason why I'm focusing on this and the torsion field and the horizontal modality plane and then the vertical plane and all that, it's because in order for us to manifest the beyond time and space, you have to become whole spatially. First, it's one thing to know instinctively, yes, there's a horizontal plane I can travel to, there's a side plane, and there's an up-down plane. I can go up a mountain and descend and all that. It's one thing to understand, but to truly know it energetically completely, and to understand that my physical shell is nothing compared to how big I am energetically. And when I own how big I am, and I know that I exist and I'm that big and I'm that immense, and I am doing practice on a daily basis to remember the extent of my volume, that volume that I own, I can now project it onto something else. So when I say beyond time and space, and I project my hand, and as I project my hand, I extend it out, and I reach out, my hand extended, and I project it out, and I then see or feel that my core, the antakarana, my vertical part, projected in outside of myself, and I feel and see it in the center of the room, or the center wherever I want to project it. And I now ask the guardian to come in around that core that I'm still looking at. You keep your eye strength fixed on it and your hand extended out. And I keep looking at it, and I let the guardian go in. And as they create the torsion field, I breathe with them. And I take 12 breaths that way, and you continue to have it being done. And by the time it's complete, I put an intention in that, because what I'm doing at that moment, I am asking I am creating an exception where I am banishing time and space in 3D and I'm accessing higher dimension. And the way I'm doing this, if you all remember, I don't know if you have ever seen this, but I've seen books, old grimoire of ceremonial magic, where there are all kind of pentagram or circles that are created on the floor, and the magician holds a rod. The circle is what I call the measure of God. It's a way to create an exception by creating a boundary in which you can call an energy system that is transcendental, or the magician can send in the circle so that outside forces cannot penetrate him or her, and again to create an exception so that the forces and the laws of physics can be temporarily changed by consciousness. And the magician will use the rod, who is an external symbol of his internal antakarana, and project it outside and strike it onto the ground as the driving rod of power. And as he strikes it, he creates a measure of God. He activates the circle. The activation, creating the circle on the floor and holding a rod in your hand, is for show. In the original order of Melchizedek Order of Neutrality, it is just that stuff that doesn't exist because we don't need it. I'm trying to remind you that in 2009, when we're doing channeling, Lord Melchizedek came in and said, it was 2009, 2010, I don't remember. But Lord Melchizedek came in and said, I will reinstitute the original order, the original Melchizedek order in time when the group body is ready. And several years later, out of nowhere, he came in and gave us an initiation. I remember very clearly that day. We were somewhere near 29th or 30th Street and 7th Avenue, 7th and 6th Avenue, in a rental place where a lot of actors were in. Melchizedek came in and sat in the room. I channeled him. I could feel, it's like he was having a conversation with his best friend, like he came and sat in the room. And he initiated us. And that initiation was so powerful and palpable that it shifted everything. And it's because he felt the group body was ready. Low key, everything that I've been teaching you since 2008 has been a preparation for the teaching from the Melchizedek Order of Neutrality. Melchizedek was behind this all along, orchestrating everything, bringing everything to the table, bringing everything so that we can bring forth, he can bring forth and reconstitute the truth, the truth that was lost long ago. And key and fundamental to this is the torsion field of the guardian eyes of light. Because once you've done this, you're reconstituting your entire antakarana, your access all the way back to God. That antakarana that's in you, that core that exists in all your self that exists in 4D, 5D, 6D, all the way back to God. It's a filament. It's a hair string. And that hair string is weaved in a pattern that exists, that's weaved into the celestial axis, which is the point or the axis of the core around which the entire universe rotates. And that celestial axis is the Melchizedek rod. It's the rod of Melchizedek. And you and I and every sentient life form belong in that rod because our core is in it. Nothing exists outside of Melchizedek. Nothing. Therefore, the mechanic of this torsion field and doing the torsion field, I'll be honest with you, I had lost connection since the pandemic went on, the lockdown. I lost my connection to the kind of powerful connection I had before with the torsion field, because I got so distracted by so many chaotic stuff. I may have done it once a day, but the kind of way in which I was doing it all the time, and what it gave me all the time: serenity, neutrality, and more importantly, clarity. Clarity. And I'm realizing now that I have to do the torsion field multiple times throughout the day as a way to bring myself back to where I was before. And I have to say, it was not all negative, whatever I went through, because I am understanding the torsion field in a way that I never did before. I took a lot of things for granted, and I'm not taking them for granted now. I'm going in and I'm studying them in copious details. And I'm able to reap the benefit of that understanding that and now I'm sharing it with you. Any questions and comments?
This may be off topic, but is that the way that the ancients, say Egyptian, they were able to move stones with their just projection into it? The way the pyramids was built and all that.
I'm not sure exactly what technology that they use.
Okay.
Wait, let me rephrase that. I seem to have known this, but I've forgotten.
Oh, okay.
And
Okay.
what I'm going to tell you is this. The pyramid themselves, because the technology of the torsion field is not just light. It actually is scalar waves.
Oh.
It's faster than light.
Mm.
If you study quantum physics and you understand what neutrinos are quantum particles that are neutral, that are zero charge. They move through everything and they pass through everything. By the time in the conversation, in the past 10 minutes, I don't know how many hundreds of them have passed through me. They pass through everything. And they're extremely fast. They're faster than light.
Mm.
It is believed that all the pyramids, including the one that have been buried or believed to be mountain, like the Bosnian pyramid, or the pyramid that I observed when I was going to the South Island of New Zealand, where I actually saw a mountain that with sheep on top of it. It was a perfect pyramid. And I had to stop the car. I'm like, this can't be natural. Okay? And what I can tell you is at the top of the pyramid, it is believed the top was releasing scalar waves. That the pyramid structures are nothing more than a battery that was harnessing powerful energies. And we can even go so far as saying that it might be a transporter. Like from the King's Chamber in the Great Pyramid, one could transport into even another planet. Not just another location on Earth, but there's for example, in not Thailand, or what is that place? In Cambodia, where there are other pyramids as well, or in South America or whatever. But you can actually go from there to Cyrus, because all of the great pyramids are aligned to Cyrus.
Okay, thank you.
So there is a connection, there's a direct connection between, because the torsion field also creates scalar waves. And the other thing as well about the torsion field I want to mention is that when you are in the torsion field, orientation like east, west, top, down, bottom doesn't exist. It doesn't mean anything. because there's certain kind of ritual. You have to face the east, you have to face the west, you have to do this. You have when the torsion field gets created, particularly when you have completely built this edifice and you're in the torsion field all the time, all of that stuff will be banished for you. You have now created a permanent exception to everything that exists in time and space. And you, through the elevation of your consciousness, will project into the torsion field an intention that manifests, not will manifest, but that manifests.
Thank you.
No problem. Any other questions or comments? All right, let's take a 5-minute break and then we'll do our closing meditation. 5 minutes.
Take a very deep and slow breath. And as you inhale and exhale deeply and slowly, allow the universal life force that permeates everything to enter into your lungs. Keep breathing deeply and slowly. And let your soul and your awareness drop in the middle of your chest. Please forgive me. I love you. And I let go. Please forgive me. I love you. And I let go. Please forgive me. I love you. And I let go. At the gateway of the path of return, I stand humbly seeking permission to enter. I stand in spiritual rectitude and verticality, aligned to the celestial axis around which the universe rotates. Prana rise. Give me conscious immortality. Prana rise. Give me conscious immortality. Prana rise. Give me conscious immortality. I become aware of my crown chakra, Sahasrara, whose purpose is to know. At the point slightly above my head. Prana rise. Give me conscious immortality. I become aware of my third eye chakra, Ajna, whose purpose is to see. At a point between my eyeballs, Prana rise. Give me conscious immortality. I become aware of my throat chakra, Visuddha, whose purpose is to speak. In the middle of my throat, Prana rise. Give me conscious immortality. I become aware of my heart chakra, Anahata, whose purpose is to love. In the center of my upper chest, Prana rise. Give me conscious immortality. I become aware of my solar plexus chakra, Manipura, whose purpose is to will. At a point near my belly button, Prana rise. Give me conscious immortality. I become aware of my sacral chakra, Svadhisthana, whose purpose is to move and feel. At a point below the belly button, Prana rise. Give me conscious immortality. I become aware of my throat chakra, Muladhara, whose purpose is to have. At my seat, Prana rise. Give me conscious immortality. I become aware of the zero chakra, whose purpose is to ground. At a point below my feet, Prana rise. Give me conscious immortality. From the roots of Amen and into the throne room of God, I am aligned to the celestial axis that is perpetually expanding and growing. From the center of the mandala, the original point of emanation in emptiness, the throne room of God, I am encircled by the 12 elders that surrounds the throne of grace. I am that I am. I become aware of my Christed over self body that exists at 12 o'clock. Please forgive me. I love you and I let go. I ask for complete and total merger with my Christed self and with the 12 Christed aspects of me that compose this. I am that I am. Prana rise. Give me conscious immortality. I become aware of my Christed over self body that exists at 1 o'clock. Please forgive me. I love you and I let go. I ask for a complete and total merger with my Christed self and with the 12 Christed aspects of me that composes. I am that I am. Prana rise. Give me conscious immortality. I become aware of my Christed over self body that exists at 2 o'clock. Please forgive me. I love you and I let go. I ask for a complete and total merger with my Christed self and with the 12 Christed aspects of me that compose this. I am that I am. Prana rise. Give me conscious immortality. I become aware of my Christed over self body that exists at 3 o'clock. Please forgive me. I love you and I let go. I ask for a complete and total merger with my Christed self and with the 12 Christed aspects of me that composes. I am that I am. Prana rise. Give me conscious immortality. I become aware of my Christed over self body that exists at 4 o'clock. Please forgive me. I love you and I let go. I ask for a complete and total merger with my Christed self and with the 12 Christed aspects of me that compose this. I am that I am. Prana rise. Give me conscious immortality. I become aware of my Christed over self body that exists at 5 o'clock. Please forgive me. I love you and I let go. I ask for a complete and total merger with my Christed self and with the 12 Christed aspects of me that compose this. I am that I am. Prana rise. Give me conscious immortality. I become aware of my Christed over self body that exists at 6 o'clock. Please forgive me. I love you and I let go. I ask for a complete and total merger with my Christed self and with the 12 Christed aspects of me that compose this. I am that I am. Prana rise. Give me conscious immortality. I become aware of my Christed over self body that exists at 7 o'clock. Please forgive me. I love you and I let go. I ask for a complete and total merger with my Christed self and with the 12 Christed aspects in me that compose this. I am that I am. Prana rise. Give me conscious immortality. I become aware of my Christed over self body that exists at 8 o'clock. Please forgive me. I love you and I let go. I ask for a complete and total merger with my Christed self and with the 12 Christed aspects of me that compose this. I am that I am. When I rise, give me conscious immortality. I become aware of my Christed over self body that exists at 9 o'clock. Please forgive me. I love you and I let go. I ask for a complete and total merger with my Christed self and with the 12 Christed aspects of me that compose this. I am that I am. Prana rise. Give me conscious immortality. I become aware of my Christed over self body that exists at 10 o'clock. Please forgive me. I love you and I let go. I ask for a complete and total merger with my Christed self and with the 12 Christed aspects of me that compose this. I am that I am. Prana rise. Give me conscious immortality. I become aware of my Christed over self body that exists at 11 o'clock. Please forgive me. I love you and I let go. I ask for a complete and total merger with my Christed self and with the 12 Christed aspects of me that compose this. I am that I am. Prana rise. Give me conscious immortality. From every point in my being, consciousness and infinity times infinity. Prana rise. Give me conscious immortality. I am the whole, complete, and immortal presence that exists everywhere. Gate, gate, paragate. Parasamgati, Bodhisattva. Gati, Gati, Paragati, 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 Parasamgati, Bodhisattva. Gone, gone, over, gone, fully gone. Awake, so it be. Thank you for the blessings. I accept the gifts and I receive with gratitude. Thank you for the blessings. I accept the gifts and I receive with gratitude. Thank you for the blessings. I accept the gifts and I receive with gratitude. Take a very deep and slow breath. And whenever you feel ready, you can open your eyes. Any questions or any comments that you may have before we close?
Thank you. I was zoned out, Pierre. I appreciate the class and the meditation. Very deep.
You're welcome. You're welcome. I want to thank all of you for listening to me tonight. I appreciate your participation, your co-creation, your love, and your support in this long journey that we've been engaging in for several years now. I appreciate your loyalty. If you're watching us on YouTube, like this video, subscribe to the channel. Thank you for your patronage on Patreon. I'll talk to you next week. Blessings, everyone. We will continue final part of this torsion field of light of the guardian eyes of light. Thank you. Blessings.
Good night. Good night. Love you all.